This is the machine that hosted the first web server at CERN. The World Wide Web was built to be open source, a design choice that allowed for rapid global expansion, but lacked any native protocol to protect intellectual property or compensate the people who built it. Without a way to verify sovereignty at the code level, the digital substrate consolidated. Today, 25 companies control the infrastructure for nearly 200 nations. The global economy is an inverted pyramid. We focus on the top tip, the $120 trillion in global GDP. Below the surface lies $590 trillion in recomposable capital, the hidden sum of idle capital, sovereign debt, and defensive fragmentation taxes. Our current internet architecture is blind to this value. Because it only measures the flow of productivity, it cannot see the trillions of dollars trapped in siloed, defensive ledgers. The core problem is one of fragmentation. Every utility provider, grid operator, and hyperscaler holds a different piece of the data, but no single node holds the whole. We currently operate on an information ledger. It tracks the visible age, megawatts, wages, and measurable output. This is where a utility sees its ratepayer data, or a grid operator tracks power flow. But there is a second, invisible ledger, the sovereignty ledger. It tracks workforce burnout, unpaid care hours, and the health of local watersheds. Currently, these human costs are recorded only as fragments, like deferred maintenance or customer debt. Because we only account for the first ledger, our systems prioritize productivity at the expense of purpose. This severe imbalance extracts vital value from the workforce and the environment, inevitably continuing until the infrastructure itself begins to degrade. The Sovereignty VPN offers a third path. It is neither open source nor proprietary. It is a co-built protocol designed to reconcile these two ledgers. Security is maintained through origin custody. Under this model, data never leaves its source. Your workforce files and customer ledgers remain under your exclusive command. The network queries the data, it does not collect it. By eliminating centralized data lakes, you remove the primary targets for attackers. This architecture is designed to satisfy the strict privacy requirements of GDPR and the EU AI Act by ensuring data sovereignty stays with the provider. This shift changes how artificial intelligence functions. Instead of inferring answers from scraped, unverified data, AI agents act as witnesses to attested truth. These agents learn from validated patterns and even system failures, but they do so without extracting or compromising proprietary IP. This transforms the network from a system of extraction into a substrate for verifiable truth, where data is used to find connections rather than to build monopolies. To activate this network, the data on your balance sheet must move from latent to warm. This happens through a simple human practice, granting permission via the Sovereign portal. By allowing the network to query your ledgers, you move your data into the active circuit. This permission is the bridge that unites your productivity data with your purpose data. When these two ledgers meet at what we call the calibration point, the system reaches equilibrium. Data latency decreases because supply can finally meet actual, real-time demand. The network functions as a daily practice. Users attest to their lived experience, their time, and their care, and by adding those fragments to the whole, the hidden market of $590 trillion becomes visible. Closing the circuit triggers the Symbiotic Return, a financial architecture where everyone who contributes to the organization is paid. In this model, you are paid for both who you are and what you do. Your productivity generates fiat currency, while your stewardship and purpose generate watts. Early members of the Ignition cohort earn a temporary pioneer's dividend of 2 to 5%. As the network reaches full coherence, a state marked as Phi 3.0, the work of Ignition ends and this temporary dividend dissolves. However, the entity that organizes the calibration point receives a permanent dividend from the remaining 95% of the sovereign return. Because the work of organizing a community is never finished, the holder of the lens is compensated for that ongoing act. This ensures that those who maintain the integrity of the network, the grid operators and utilities, are permanently paid for the value they convene. Because the Sovereignty Ledger specifically compensates for care hours and watershed health, it provides the liquidity needed for actual restoration. When caregivers are paid for their purpose, stress markers like cortisol decrease. When maintenance is no longer deferred, local ecosystems can begin to heal. This system also establishes the 5% unborn floor. By mathematically assigning a portion of the network's energy to the future, we grant economic and legal standing to those who have not yet been born. As the grid stabilizes, it creates a metabolic soup that allows human value to be measured at a planetary scale. This coherent substrate is the first step towards joining a wider, multiplanetary network of sovereigns. Truth starts at your balance sheet. By closing the digital circuit and recognizing the full $590 trillion in human value, we stop chasing fragments and finally complete the whole.